very close. Up next we have the Dead Rising up against DPSbrick. As we saw before, DPSbrick uses a swarm of support ships and a handful of blockers. He also has a few of these kinds of ships which run around and distract and provide closer fire support, but I think those are going to get murdered if they get too close to the APAC. I'm still not sure what's going on here with all those cannons. It's like they're not firing. I don't see any generators. I wonder if he doesn't have the power to run them. And that may have been a change after he submitted as well. Although, this fleet was just received recently, so I don't know. Seems kind of foolish to put a bunch of weapons on your ship that you can't fire. And it seems to be maintaining the rest of its damage output pretty well. It's just this block of cannons isn't doing anything, it's just looking at the enemy. I'm not sure. Hopefully S&W will be able to clear that up, but you can see DPSbrick is doing work. Most of those distractors actually still seem to be alive. I don't know if S&W has factories in here at all, but these distractors, you had quite a few there at the end. And yeah, I know there's at least one laser in there. I'm not sure how many others. Laser turrets generally get that triangular shape, and I'm only seeing one triangle and a whole lot of the rectangular ones, which are usually turrets. But see how close target. Okay, yeah, there they go. They're firing. They're just shorter range turrets. That's all. Okay, everything is well. And it looks like, yeah, DPSbrick is doing an excellent job here in the second round as well. So next we have Dead Rising up against TNTFF. TNTFF we saw before, the blockers have guns on them, but didn't use them at all against the missile swarm. I'm wondering if they'll be a bit more productive here. Although they may not even get a chance at this rate. The missile ships are devastating the fleet from Shekel. Against slower targets that are actually able to hit with these torpedoes, they're causing some serious hate and discontent. And with only one actual ship left for Shekel, it looks like round one is going to go in favor of Jokrates. You can see the missiles just overwhelming the point defense and shields in no time flat. Jokrates is one of our more veteran developers as well. He's got a lot of experience under his belt. He clearly knows how to build a fleet that works. Although this part about using missiles is always kind of frustrating. Like, you're dead, ship. There's no winning. Stop fighting. But going into round 2, let's see if this goes any different. You can see the torpedo volleys slowly making their way across the field. The 8-pack survived the initial volley though this time, so it might be able to actually put some damage on the field. Last round it got cratered by a torpedo volley and lost most of the ship almost immediately. This time it might be a bit of a different situation. Yeah, you can see the missiles just kind of burrowed through. I'm guessing the 8-pack just in lieu of one of these shields has a command module on one side. And Jokrates takes a match. So up next we have the Dead Rising against Herald of Dawn. And so we didn't really talk about these a whole lot, but these are more conventional types of snipers out of Splinter. I swear to God, that's retarded. But these guys here are a more conventional type of sniper. How many guns does he have on it? 3? It's enough to get some work done. And you can see them punching holes and stuff. Let's see the 8-pack. Where is the command module? Ah, yeah, it's right there. It's kind of an odd spot for it. It almost looks like the 8-pack was actually the 2-pack, just duplicated a few times. Oh. The 8-pack has been moved out of the present tense. And Splinter takes round 1. That's so stupid. Yeah, Splinter's submission is pretty silly. I don't even know. He just does unfair things to people. And the Herald of Dawn wins the match. So up next we have Cuddly Painful against the Shadow League. Based on what we've seen, I'm inclined to believe that Cuddly Painful is going to sweep this one pretty handily. Shadow League has a relatively small number of ships, and Cuddly Painful is excellent at dealing with that. As you can see, the snipers just punching holes. Yeah, the snipers from Dukeslayer are pretty serious gunships. Eight cannons on a single ship is a ton. And you can see the blast radius is much smaller on the ships from Dukeslayer than it is, at least compared to some of the stuff out of compared to some of the missiles, but I'm not even sure. I want to say every one of those shots appears to be doing somewhere in the market of 3,000 damage. It'd have to be in order to punch through armor as cleanly as it does. And you can see by the score gap, the Cuddly have Painful have created a pretty colossal point difference. And while the time dilation is pretty extreme here, but it's only been about 35 seconds of in-game time. Just a matter of dealing with the game trying to simulate the physics of all the blocks that are on the field. I don't want to name names or anything, but somebody uses a lot of blocks, and so it has to simulate the physics for all of them. And there goes one of Icemourn's ships. And I'm still not sure what causes this to happen. See, these ships have decided to become one mega ship, I guess. I think one of these ships may have been... Yeah, see, you've got the factory in the middle. So one of these ships may have been built during the match and just not gotten properly ejected. Game seems to be speeding up a bit now, though. And Dukeslayer snipers are doing an excellent job of just punching holes in anything that they happen to find in front of them. Dukeslayer has been in the NMSS tournaments for a little while now. I think his first submission were Sentinel spinners that just kind of swept the field. Did a really good job with them. I believe we've decided the name of this guy is Rudolph. I think we need reindeer tolerance training. It's just heartless. But you can see again by the score difference. This round is almost surely going in favor of Dukeslayer. ship count for Icemourn is beginning to seriously dwindle. Still a minute 30 left on the in-game clock, but I don't think it's going to take that long. And it looks like the game's finally catching up a little bit. I'm not sure. I'll have to look up exactly which CPU I'm using. I don't recall off the top of my head. But, see this, I'm not sure what's going on here, but these guys are just having a hangout party. I think they don't want to fire because their line of fire is obstructed. Never mind that with one volley they could clear their line of fire. But at least the clock is actually moving. So that's good. Gotta wait a little bit. And there it is, round 1 in favor of Dukeslayer. And given the state of round 1, despite despite the snipers just sitting there for half the match, I imagine this one's going to go in favor of Duke as well. Oh, poor baby ship. It's going to be having a bad day. And here you can clearly see why this ship has become named Rudolph. This is a bright nose leading the way. So, you know, enjoy that, Icemourn. That ship is forever known as Rudolph. I hope you modify it in your save game. Oh, this is gonna get ugly fast. So, as Splinter confirmed, when two ships are stuck on each other like this, it's because you have an embedded factory, and it doesn't properly eject the ship, so it goes up inside of its parent. And when that happens, they kind of stick together, which you can see here too, apparently. But the snipers from Dukeslayer don't really care how many ships are in a space. I'm pretty sure one good volley would take out both of them. As we may well see here, if it did it right, but it doesn't appear to want to. This Rudolph's getting shot up. Oddly enough, though, the core seems to be in the middle of the ship. More or less. A lot of times you'll find people place the cores at the very extreme back of the ship, under the expectation that most ships will orient toward their target. And by having the core in the back, you increase the amount of ship that has to get destroyed before they get to the core. Although if you place it all the way in the back and your ship gets surrounded, then it just kind of backfires. But placing it in the middle kind of insulates against getting flanked. However, it makes you a little less optimal against a frontal assault. Everything is a trade-off. Yeah! Yeah, physics! And that's what happens when the game realizes that two objects shouldn't be connected and decides to rectify the situation. You'll see that sort of behavior a lot with drones. If you place a drone launcher inside the ship so that the drones can't leave, a lot of the time you'll get a very similar effect. You'll reach some critical mass of drones, and then it'll launch the ship off in one direction and the drones will scatter. I know. That is a dead Rudolph. Look at this little guy. He's hoping. Got his little guns going. Yeah, Splinter, I suppose that makes sense. If you're watching the ship when it fires, it does cause your screen to become temporarily as bright as the sun. I guess this guy is... Okay, he's turning to face a target. Looked like he decided he was on a coffee break. And then his bullets. That's just hard times. Yeah, so it looks like Icemourn is putting the core in the middle of his ships pretty often. Let's see. Yeah. Whereas, for example, on a spinner you generally want the core in the middle anyway, but if we look at Dukeslayer's ships, this one's kind of oriented a little better, you can see the barrel of the gun is at the bottom of the screen, and you can see how far off center his core is. And that's to force the enemy to have to fire through the bulk of the ship before it's actually destroyed. And you wonder where the factory is on which ship, Splinter? Because this one's factory is here. Then we've got this shape of the factory here. And then Duke's snipers actually have the factory sticking off the ass end in between some of these hairs. And so that's 4 snipers on the field for Dukeslayer. Now if only they'd stop smoking and actually participate, it'd be pretty good. Smoke break is not supposed to be a whole pack, it's only supposed to be 1 cigarette. You doing, man? This is a different design too. Yeah. And this is what Splinter's talking about with the factories having a cavern. That'll cause your ships to get stuck when building new ones pretty often. Which is why we're seeing it so much with Icemourn's fleet. I mean, maybe they're not smoking cigarettes. That's entirely possible. Be real obtuse about it. Maybe they're smoking, you know, shisha or a pipe. Yeah, you can see so much time passes in between the volleys that the ship is able to fully reproduce. It doesn't matter though, when a single volley is fatal.